Commissioner Warren?
Here.
And Commissioner Martinez is absent.
Would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Could we have the invocation now?
Good evening, Kevin.
Good evening.
Let's pray. Father, we come before you tonight humbled at the great works you do. God, we are thankful that you consider liberal your city. God, that these are your people. And God, we wish to honor that, Lord, and we open this meeting to you most importantly, and we say, let the decisions that be made please you. God, it doesn't matter if it displeases us, as long as it displeases you, because you're all-knowing. So, Father, we thank you. We pray for peace in the room. We pray for wisdom beyond measure. And God, we just pray that above all, you be glorified. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Welcome, everyone, to our meeting. Is Heidi Rodriguez here? Would you like to come forward, please? If you'll just do it and give everybody your name.
Okay, my name is Heidi Rodriguez, and I work for the Western Kansas Child Advocacy Center.
Okay, thank you. I have a proclamation for you. This is Western Kansas Child Advocacy Center Child Abuse Awareness Month coming up. So this proclamation states, whereas children depend on the community to provide a safe, healthy, nurturing environment in which they can live and grow to become productive members of the community. And whereas it is the responsibility of liberal community members and programs to ensure the welfare of liberal youth. And whereas the people of Liberal need to continue to improve the services provided to protect, shelter, and provide for our Liberal children. And whereas decreasing the occurrence of child abuse relies upon the efforts of every individual in order to make a positive, substantial impact upon the children of today who will become our leaders of tomorrow. Whereas April has been deemed Child Abuse Prevention Month by the United States of America and State of Kansas, now therefore I, Connie L. Segrist, Mayor of the City of Liberal, Kansas, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2019 as Child Abuse Awareness Month. And I have a proclamation printed out for you. And thank you for calling our attention to your work.
Thank you.
Thank you
very much for everything you guys do.
Thank you.
Our next item is...
Thank you.
Next item is approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as printed.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Harden, second by Commissioner Carlisle to approve the agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Carlisle, second. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion carried. Next item is approve the minutes of the March 12, 2019 meeting.
Make a motion that we approve the minutes for the March 12th, 2019 regular meeting.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Harden, second by Commissioner Warren to approve the March 12, 2019 regular meeting minutes as printed. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries. The next is items from the citizens. If you have something you would like to discuss with us, please approach the podium, give us your name and your address, and try to limit your discussion to about 5 minutes if you can. Okay. The next would be items from groups. Are there any groups that want to discuss things with us tonight? Okay, we'll move on. The next item is a consent agenda.
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Warren, second by Commissioner Harden to approve the consent agenda as printed. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries. The next is food trucks. I think Kevin, are you going to make a presentation about the food trucks?
Yeah, I believe it has to be.
Yep, I'll make a motion. We previously tabled this item. I'll go ahead and make a motion to remove the discussion of food trucks from the table.
Do you have a second?
Where are we doing that?
It's been tabled. We have to remove it from the table.
Yeah, we have to remove it from the table.
Then we have to we can discuss it.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Harden, a second by Commissioner Warren to move the food truck item from the table. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay. Now then.
As stated before, on August 14, 2018, ordinance number 4504 regulating mobile food vendors was tabled for further review and discussion. I did make some changes as to trash receptacles and changes to, let's see, the fees and transferability. It's section 11. It shows the fees for a license required by this article shall be established in Exhibit C, section C 510. The first one is $50 for each 30 days or portion thereof, or $150 for 6 months, or $300 for 1 calendar year. This ordinance in any way isn't trying to keep a food vendor out or trying to get rid of food vendors. It's regulating them. It gives us something when we go out and look at the food vendors. We make sure that the trailers have the proper equipment, the Type 1 hoods for cooking, the grease interceptors, the water tanks, propane tanks secured. It just gives us something to have if we do have to have one removed from a property or so forth. Right now, there's nothing for us to do that.
Can I have a motion?
I want to ask some questions. Kevin, will it be the building departments, the code enforcement job to enforce this, or?
In the past, we do enforce it. They do go to a city clerk and they get their license and their business license, and then we do the inspections. But we're inspecting these mobile food trailers with the brick and mortar regulations, which isn't fair to them.
Right, other than maybe setbacks and stuff like that, right?
Yes.
As far as, because that's something I was looking at on one of the deals here. Says conduct or carry on activities within 50 feet of any driveway entrance or access lane from public street to existing businesses. So that's something that I think some of them I've seen don't meet those regulations, so it will be your job they'll have to move their trailers to where they meet those requirements.
Yeah, and like one of them I think you're referring to, the trailer is close to the building, but they're also using that building as their commons area, and the commons area being where they're going to food prep.
Actually, I'm referring to more of them that are within 50 foot of an entrance from off the road. There's some of them that are right next to entrances off roads and stuff like that, and I didn't know if that's something that you're thinking about, or
yeah, that would be regulated
when you're doing this, because and that would be, like you said, not exactly like you would a brick and mortar building, but at the same time, you wouldn't allow one of those right next to an entrance to block the view of anybody pulling in or out of traffic or whatever. So, and that's why I was asking, because that's one of the, when I was reading through these, I kind of saw that and I thought, well, that's probably a couple of them.
The parking is one of the reasons, and then also where they're dumping their grease from their grease interceptors, grease traps. We have no idea where they're doing it. I did put in kind of a sample of what they would have to fill out and bring back. And this is strictly a sample. We can do some revisions, but it would show the date and the time, the employee, the disposal location. If they have somebody pick it up, then the person that, the business picking it up would sign it. And then they could turn this in annually whenever they get their license to show that they did have the
have a
grease.
contract with somebody to
picked
remove the
up or-
grease.
Yeah.
And so the state's doing all the inspections inside the
The health
trailers and to make sure the
department
food preparation and everything they're doing. But then you guys would be doing the outside because you're requiring restaurants in town to have their grease interceptors. And does that mean that more than one can share one, or they have to provide their own, or as long as their grease is getting, actually they get paid for the grease to get hauled off, they should, right?
Yeah,
So
they're
they
getting paid.
should be, people are buying their grease, so they should be saving it instead
Yeah.
of dumping it down somewhere, yeah. But-
Yeah, we have had some that are dumping it on the grass nearby.
Yeah.
Putting it down the curb, so we need to regulate.
And that'll be
that.
your job from here on out to, okay, and this, otherwise you didn't have the teeth to do anything about it before, right?
Yeah, no, we
Yeah.
didn't.
Is your plan to go ahead and give notice to all current entities that this applies to?
Yes, there will be.
Yeah.
And A is just the regulations, not the licensing, right, and the fees for 4504. Yeah.
Make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 4504 for the regulation of mobile food truck vendors.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Harden, second by Commissioner Warren, to approve ordinance 4504 regarding regulation for mobile food vendors. Is there any discussion? All in favor? 3 in
Abstain.
favor, 1 abstention. The next item is the resolution establishing the fees. Do you have any questions for Kevin on those? I think you already pretty much explained that.
Yeah, I actually saw something in there I had a question about too. If I can get to it later. I might need to start getting paper instead of trying to get to the right page. I think it's clear down at the bottom here, isn't it?
I think Tony printed it out, Ronnie, the actual resolution.
Here we go, Ryan.
No. Okay, my question is on the B. Oh, it is just on B, not on A then, that's something, a maximum of 10 employees. But who is required, employees will be required to submit background check once every 6 months. So that's, if somebody comes in from out of town and gets a license, their employees are subject to background checks?
Yes, they are.
But the local ones aren't. That's on the out of town.
That'd be the out of town, the itinerants coming, the people
Yeah.
coming in that we don't know.
And so is that like when we do the fair and stuff and those people come in, they come in for special events, they all have to buy the permits for?
Well, the fair would be under the county.
Okay, but, okay, because they're going to be on the county, I guess that is.
Yeah, in the
county
activity
property,
center and
just
stuff like that.
Little area inside town. So if they're within their property, but if they're out in town on something, then it's up to you guys then, right?
Yeah, and the state does have some clauses, like if it's a festival or something of that nature, we can't do anything for, I think it's 5 days, and then we can start after that.
Okay, because I say that could be a tough one for them, right?
Gone, but-
Yeah, because I don't think this will actually take effect on anything like any of the home shows or the carnivals or fairs or anything like that.
Yeah, because those are usually on county property too, though, aren't they? Yeah.
But I think even if, the fair that used to go down south, I don't even think it would affect that because of the length of time that they stay in
Okay.
town.
We'd be gone by the time.
Yeah. I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve resolution number 2306, establishing the fees for the regulation of mobile food vendors within the city of Liberal.
Second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Harden, second by Commissioner Warren to approve resolution number 2306, establishing fees for the regulation of mobile food vendors within the city of Liberal. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Let's do.
Okay. Motion 3 in favor, 1 abstention. Okay, number 8 is utility terrain vehicles, micro-utility trucks. And I think that was also tabled at one time.
Good evening. Was that table?
I don't think it
Was
was.
it not? Okay.
We discussed it.
We discussed it, okay, all right,
It hasn't been up before.
okay.
Commissioners, Madam Mayor, I'm bringing before you ordinance 4519, which has been requested by some of the citizens. which would allow for the registration of micro utility trucks and utility terrain vehicles for operation on city streets. Basically, this would amend standard traffic ordinance, which is adopted by the police department, and it would allow somebody to take their little side-by-side utility terrain vehicle down and get it modified. It would have to meet all the same requirements as a car for blinkers, brake lights, mirrors. They would take it down and the police department would inspect it and give them a tag or a sticker number to put on it. And then they would be able to operate that on city streets just like a car. The only restriction by state law, they would not be allowed to travel down a highway. They could cross Pancake, but they couldn't travel down Pancake. They could cross country estates, but they couldn't travel down country estates. It would require they would have to have all the equipment as a car. They would have to have the same driver's license requirements, be legal drivers. They would be required to respect all the rules of traffic movement and laws of the road as well.
I guess my problem with this is I don't mind the mutt. Okay, I think that could be used town, construction, whatever. I have a hard time with this one. You know, I really do.
Well, I don't have a hard time with it. I'm not in favor of it. As a mother, a grandmother, and now a great-grandmother, there's no way I can vote for this. And I think if we're worried about lawsuits, this would be a lawsuit waiting to happen with one of these. So I am not in favor of this at all.
You know, they're not tagging it. They're not paying property tax on it.
Actually,
Yeah, they would.
that is part,
Yeah.
the inspection for the police department would in effect give them a city tag. So it would be tagged, and part of it was written in there, they will have to show proof that they have that listed on their property tax, and property taxes have been paid on it before they're allowed to get a registration.
Yeah, and with how expensive some of these vehicles are, it would definitely be a pay-to-play system. I mean, you're talking about it on a $20,000 Polaris. That's a pretty substantial amount a year that they would have to pay to be able to tag it and drive it locally. So I highly doubt with the passing of an ordinance like this that you're going to see a huge influx in the amount of the vehicles driven. However, I think you're always going to have people to take advantage that are probably going to drive them untagged, so I can see it being cumbersome for the police department to be able to enforce. But generally on ordinances like this, it's basically taxing a legalization of an item. So you're legalizing them for them to drive it, but very few people are going to take advantage of it because of the high cost to be able to participate.
What is Dennis think? I'd like just kind of your opinion.
Well, for one, we're not next to a off-road location such as Garden City, so I personally don't see the need for it, but I agree with the majority of the conversation here. A lot of vehicles on the road now are not insured, they're not in compliance, so we have a difficult time enough as it is regulating the traffic that's already on the road. I think this is just going to compound the problem.
But they would still have to, like say, have all, seat belts, headlights, tail lights, turn signals, everything that a regular vehicle requires. They have to be a licensed driver, or they face the same penalty as a kid driving a car. That's, to me, it'd almost be easier for a kid to get caught in one of these than it would be in a car, as far as, because you're going to take a better look at it probably, aren't you, or are you, in a sense?
Well, when officers are available to be proactive, but a lot of time we're busy taking calls and so forth. It's just one more thing for us to enforce, and we're busy enough as it is. And another thing I see that this being abused, and their kids getting a hold of their parents' vehicle and tearing it across the parks and the cemeteries, and I think it's just going to compound the traffic problem that we already have in the area. And I agree with the safety of it. A full-size pickup or a semi-truck hitting one of these things, it's going to be a disaster, in my opinion.
And nearly a guaranteed fatality in almost any given situation. And once again, though, with anything like this, it would be the responsibility of the parents to make sure that their children are not operating a vehicle inappropriately. Not that that ever takes place. I could see that.
So, I didn't even think about that part. Most vehicles actually have airbags now and these aren't going to have airbags, and they actually have, don't,
Right.
and that's why you can't take them on the highway, because they don't meet the
Right.
the specs for on the highway. But are there specs then for local road then, or, I mean, are we waiving those? I mean,
No, because I mean, they're going to be required, like if we're looking at just the Polarises, because what's it called, the MUTs, those are pretty much standard vehicles, yeah. But the Polarises are going to have roll cages and everything else, all of the standard safety requirements, plus, either a 5-point harness or a seatbelt to be able to operate. And once again, I think it's imperative to understand that these are not ever designed from the ground up to be traversable on a highway. I can't really see that being a very comfortable ride at 65 miles an hour with the kind of suspension and tires they have anyway. So realistically, they're more for putt-putting around town like people do on the golf courts, or with the golf carts. However, I do think it is a valid point to point out that we do not have a riverbed like Garden City or Dodge City or anything very nearby. That being said, I think I know how this is going to go, but I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to approve ordinance number 4519 for the registration of micro utility vehicles and utility terrain vehicles for the operation on city streets.
Is there a second?
No.
I believe the issue dies for lack of a second. Thank you for your hard work on this.
Well, I believe we still have to bring B before you, the resolution for the fees.
You just did.
probably.
Yeah, I think since the first one
I thought it
died.
was a separate, because it's a separate.
You did, you just mentioned it, but it's.
Yeah, it's dead. Thank you very much, though, and thank you guys for your hard work on that in the zoning department.
Okay, the next item is fireworks. You're back on, kiddo.
Okay. Ordinance number 4520 is regulating fireworks within the city of Liberal. Last year, ordinance number, let's see, 4503 was put in place to see if fireworks would work in the city of Liberal. And now we're bringing it back to allow fireworks, allow selling of fireworks, with a few exceptions and prohibited ones would be the Roman candles, torpedoes, skyrockets, bottle rockets. There's a few others here.
How about the ones that go up and go kaboom?
The mortars?
Yeah.
Yeah, those
Mortars.
are, yeah, because anything over 6 feet is also prohibited.
I'm gonna let Chief Kirk or Deputy Chief Bolton come up and discuss their thoughts on a few of those. They were a big help in writing this ordinance as well.
Good evening, Chief.
Good evening.
Chief?
Good evening. Well, I'll just start off by saying I'd like to see us go ahead and ban fireworks within the city.
Ain't happening.
Probably not going to happen. Just wanted to get on record as saying that. Yeah, some of the things that we worked on were, last year the number of fireworks going off in the city was exponentially higher than it's ever been before, and it went on for such a long time. I got a lot of complaints about the noise. Some of the complaints I received were the noise for such a long period of time, going late into the night past the curfew, the effects on animals. I was made aware of 2 family pets that died from the stress of the noise from the fireworks. We had reports of fireworks going off, hitting neighbors' homes, trash in the street for like a couple days afterwards, and another gentleman came in, elderly gentleman from around the 900 block of South Kane, and was very upset with me that we allowed fireworks and that he and his wife were basically held hostage in their home for a week and had to keep their dog in the basement for a week because of that. So I personally, as fire chief, I received nothing but complaints about it. But we went back to work on it this year. We banned all the things that are banned by state law. The bottle rockets are of course banned. We went on. Now to address the issue of the mortars that go up, we've got it in here, no airborne projectiles higher than 12 feet, which is basically the eave of a home. Actually, for me, the mortars that just go up and do a starburst are probably really less of a concern than anything with wings or vanes that guide it, or a stick that once it takes off, or the ones you light and they just go uncontrolled around on the ground. those are the ones you can't control where they're going. Except in high wind times, the mortars are probably going to go up, do their thing, and those tiny embers will burn themselves out before they hit the ground. But I do like what we did in Section 5 there.
I'm talking about the ones that go up and do this kabam that rattles the windows for 10 blocks. You know?
That's a mortar.
That's a mortar, essentially. That's any of those that shoot a ball up and it's made to explode. And I mean, I don't know how you get into regulating that. I mean, even the height thing, it's kind of a subjective thing. If you do the 12 foot, that's essentially the eave of any home. So if an officer's driving down, say, Curtis Street where I live, and Kelly Kirk sets one off on Spruce and it goes above his house, that's obviously more than 12 foot. He should come around and get me. But they're all going to have concussion and percussion, and I don't know how we stop that. I don't know that we can.
Well, I think the impossible thing about it is we could have every officer and every fire department official work on the 4th of July and not catch a fourth of the people that are breaking the regulations.
That's my next concern, and I'm sure Chief Molinax would agree with me. When we got everybody on duty that day, I got 6 guys in 3 stations to drive 11 trucks. That math doesn't work, and we have to be ready to respond in 60 to 90 seconds to any and every emergency, and normal emergencies still happen. Ambulance calls still happen. Trash fires, car wrecks, things like that still happen. Like Chief Molinax said, he doesn't have the staffing. They're mostly reacting to the calls that come through dispatch. They don't have time to be proactive and go out and look for things to do, and we don't have that luxury either. We're basically tied to that station ready to respond. And when we do something like this, we are exponentially increasing the possibility that we're going to get called out to these calls. So, I mean, that goes back to why I just don't feel like they belong in town or in residential areas. It's just a bad mix. The other thing I do like that we did with this was we limited it to July 1st through 3rd. From 8 to 10, July 4th of July, go ahead and go to midnight, and then allow for a rain day on the 5th, because we do have thunderstorms in July and they could get rained out. So we allow for July 5th, but that gives us a set time frame. If we're hearing them on June 30th, pretty much cut and dried. If we can catch them in the act, then we ticket them and prosecute them, and that's another thing. We're going to have to hold people to the letter on this, or it's going to get out of control. I mean, essentially, it should have been as easy as writing an ordinance that said, you can pop fireworks if you're careful and considerate. You know, we could have said that, and it could have taken care of it. But unfortunately, in this day and age, that doesn't happen. So it's 4th of July. It's not Mardi Gras. I'm glad we're limited to just a few days. I would like to see it just July 4th, personally, but I understand why we're doing that. And then the enforcement part of it, I don't have people to send out and enforce it, so I don't know how we can, unless we take the fees that we're going to collect from the stands that we allow, and allow Chief Molinax and I to bring some people back on overtime and send them out to patrol. But the way that the fire department's staffed, if a fire comes in, the people that route and control would have to, by necessity, come back and respond to that call. So,
Kelly, I understand what you're saying, okay? But what community around here, around the state, whatever, that has outlawed fireworks other than us?
I don't disagree with that. You know, it's going to be weird that the city's allowing it, the county still bans it unless they change their mind this year and do something. So I'm just speaking to you from the fire chief's point of view. I was a 21-year-old guy one time, and I couldn't wait for 4th of July to get here. So
yeah, you know, we got 20,000 people in this county, 21. That's, you know, we need an answer to. So
yeah.
Well, and Chief, I appreciate all of the input that you provide on that subject. So thank you very much for your opinions on it.
So penalties on this, I had a question for you. Violation, the minimum of $100, maximum of $1,000. Is that what I'm reading, or?
yes.
And so let's say they catch somebody. That's the officer's discretion of how bad the violation, or the judge's discretion?
Judge's discretion.
They'll do like a traffic deal and they'll decide, or write them a...
They'll write them a citation, they'll come to court, they'll enter a plea in front of the judge, and the judge will set the fine. So typically...
And so when they end up with multiple bills, then it'll be,
Typically he has a scale that as you get more and more convictions, the penalty goes up for it, including jail time. I mean,
right, up to jail time.
I don't know how many tickets we had wrote last year. Not too many. 5 or 6,
We
maybe.
confiscated most of them because it was more lenient last year, so we did a lot of confiscation.
And we had one fire last year, a small one.
It was basically grass and fence fire.
Yeah.
I make a motion we approve ordinance number 4520.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Carlisle, second by Commissioner Warren to approve ordinance 4520. Any discussion?
I actually do have a little bit more discussion. So my understanding coming into this meeting was that we were going to have a sub-ordinance for the previously approved ordinance that was already allowing fireworks to be shot in the city of Liberal, and then all we were going to be doing was allowing the sale of fireworks in Liberal. Now, this is an actual complete overhaul of the original ordinance.
Yeah, we had to have overhaul it to allow everything to set in place.
So if this ordinance fails, fireworks will not be allowed and sales will not be allowed in Liberal.
If this ordinance fails, I believe the old ordinance would stay in place.
Correct.
Okay, so all this is doing, once again, is actually adding the fee structure, the allow of sales to the previously existing ordinance.
No, it completely repeals the old ordinance if it's passed tonight.
But if it fails, the old ordinance still exists, so fireworks are still able to be shot either way.
Correct. If you wanted to,
This is limiting the stuff. When we had the conversation last year, we talked about there was some stuff they absolutely didn't want. We didn't have enough time to get it in there if we were going to allow it because we did it at the last minute.
the old one had nothing regarding sale of fireworks.
Right, yeah.
No, the only reason I'm asking is seeing as that we're a commissioner short tonight, that last one was a 3-2 vote with Connie and I voting no. And so that was why I was asking, because if all this is going to be doing is basically, it's going to, fireworks are going to be allowed either way, and all this is doing is allowing us to finally get some kind of monetary kickback as a community on it, then I can definitely fall to where I can support that, because either way the fireworks are still going to be able to be shot. But if for any reason this failing would make it to where fireworks would not be able to be shot, that would completely change my mentality as to how I would vote on this topic.
I think this does tighten up what we did last year, and it allows us to me...
Because we didn't allow the sale in Liberal, did we? And we were going to get fees and the fee structure. And
we can't control what comes in from out of town, but at least if the people who are going to buy a permit and sell them here know what they can't sell, they won't buy them and they won't be available. And it'll help us to limit what gets sold. Now, granted, somebody's coming up here from out of state to visit for the holiday. We can't tell what stands they stopped at on the way here and brought with them, so.
They might be surprised by the fines we'll get for pumping them.
They might, so.
All right, I'm finished.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Motion carries 4-0. The next item is the resolution.
Thank you, Chief Kelly.
I make a motion to go ahead and approve resolution number 2305, establishing the fees.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Carlisle, second by Commissioner Warren to approve resolution number 2305, establishing fees. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries 4-0. The next one is ordinance 4512, which is just going to be a discussion this evening regarding pit bulls within the city of Liberal.
I think that's a typo on the agenda. It should say 4521.
Oh, okay.
Why do we not want to vote on this?
No point. Then just put for discussion. Is there something that needs to be changed?
There were some things that needed changed and addressed within the ordinance itself. And then also, I believe the animal control, they're still working on a process to actually go through to license these dogs. That was my concern that I voiced to Kevin. I didn't think it was ready to be moved on today because I don't think there's enough procedure in place for actually licensing and follow the regulations.
Absolutely.
I think that's why it was on for discussion. I think originally the intent was to try to get it put on so we could vote on it and approve it tonight.
And that's if we were, I assume we were starting a discussion. And that means if we decide that we're going to specifically have regulations that are breed specific to this breed. Right, correct?
Well,
what is the old ordinance that regulated the...
The old ordinance just basically banned pit bulls This one would allow pit bulls, but I believe we need to go back in and do a, not strictly a breed-specific ordinance banning a certain animal. We need to do a dangerous dog ordinance. And Sarah,
We already had that.
We have a vicious animal act, not a dangerous dog
but not
ordinance.
dangerous dog. And that's what, in the literature I sent out, I think, and I hope I sent the correct one, it shows you, a lot of the breed-specific ordinances are going away, allowing your pit bulls back in, or your Doberman pinchers, or whoever, or whatever breed they banned, back in, and then they're going to a dangerous dog ordinance, which catches the German Shepherds, the Rottweilers, the ones that are known for that.
Problematic.
Yeah, and Sarah, if you want to come up, you can help explain this too.
Absolutely.
Good evening, Sarah.
I don't know really where to start. We have a vicious dog ordinance. So if that's the will that we want to allow pit bulls, so be it. I'm not necessarily all for it as an animal control supervisor. But we do know that, there are certain people in the community that definitely want it.
Now, with the way that the current ban stands, it's actually not just a ban on pit bulls, it's a ban on all bull terrier breeds, correct?
It's a ban on, in specific 3 are listed. There's the American Pit Bull Terrier, the Staffordshire Bull Terrier, and the American Staffordshire Terrier.
Also, if you read through there, if it has any characteristics of it, which would be a boxer. You can outlaw a boxer on this.
Well, I've always...
It's totally...
Well, I've always thought that, there should never be a ban on any specific kind of animal, but we definitely need to make sure that before we pull the trigger on voting on something like this, that there's a lot of different things in place. One of my biggest concerns would be we need to make sure that we have wording in about breeding, because there is a lot of money in breeding bull terrier breed dogs. Whether they're pit bulls or American terriers, it doesn't matter. Those are very expensive thoroughbred dogs, and we need to have some kind of wording that allows us to make people get registered if they're going to do that, allows us to regulate it, and allows us to inspect that. Because I can definitely see if a household has 8 pit bulls in it, whether they're treating them all good or not, I can see that becoming an issue if they're not held to fairly strict regulations.
If I'm correct,
isn't that illegal? Isn't there a number of pets?
3? Aren't you only allowed 3 pets?
You're down to 3 dogs, or cats, or a combination thereof.
Yeah.
Well, but, the laws are in place for those of us that follow them.
So,
yeah. You got to leave, okay?
Well, but that's what I'm thinking would be an issue is, there's going to be people that if we don't have a way of inspecting it or regulating it, even though they're only allowed to have 3 dogs, they're going to have 6 to 8 in their house, and that's where we're going to run into a serious issue. Another thing that I think we need to pay very close attention to the wording on, this is something I spoke with Chief about, is private property. If somebody sticks their arm through a fence and they're trespassing on private property, and a dog has been trained to protect that private property or the owner, that dog should not be penalized for the crime that the person committed. And I think that's where you can get into a serious gray area with this. If a kid jumps over a fence, anything like that, and you could have the nicest pit bull on earth, but if it's trained to, attack somebody whenever they trespass, we need to make sure that we have things in place that actually put the liability on the correct party, which would be the person that's trespassing.
Back when I was in high school, there was a man 2 blocks from me, had a collie. Okay? Comes home one day, he's mad at his daughter. She's out there on the swing set, swinging. Collie's out in the backyard. He grabs his daughter to go spank her. He ends up in ICU.
Protective dog.
Yeah. You can't blame the dog for that,
No, not at all. But that's what I mean, is, for example, my dog at my house is trained to keep people out of my yard. For that reason, I make sure that my dog cannot escape my yard. If I allow you in my house, you're perfectly safe around my animal. He's the nicest dog on earth. But anybody that gets close to my fence, he is trained to deter them. So I would be concerned if we didn't have the correct wording that people like me that went through the expense and time and training to get an animal trained that way to be a home defense dog, we could possibly end up having our dogs put to sleep because somebody was irresponsible on the other side. Now, Chief, I'd like to hear some of your thoughts on A, the removal of the ban, and then B, some of the things that I just discussed as far as what the legality of that is and what the liability of the city and then the person would be that would have that situation occur.
Well, I agree with you on putting the blame where it needs to go. My concern is with little kids. I mean, once again, just like with the traffic, Liberal, I feel, is kind of unique in which it's my understanding from a state inspection several years ago that the inspector told us that Liberal does as much work with stray animals as a town of 100,000. So we have always had a significant amount of problems with dogs, and it's the owners not, no matter what breed it is, owners not containing their dogs, or getting them immunized, spayed and neutered. So we are very busy in this area on dogs. You can get them for free. If they run away, they just get another one. So now some people do take care of their dogs, and they put a lot of pride into them. And I am a dog lover. We've saved several dogs in the years, and we've found good homes for them. And the shelter does do a very good job of placement of dogs to Colorado and so forth. So, and Sarah has really stepped up and done an excellent job in that. But I think allowing more a statute that allows more to a problem that we already have, similar to the sport utility vehicles that we just talked about, is just compounding the problem. I will admit I'm sure there are some nice pit bulls out there. I remember Liberal, though, before we did have this ban, and we were busy on almost daily on pit bull calls. Pit bulls biting other dogs, biting children. We have had fatalities in this town with, it wasn't pit bulls, it was
yeah, not a pit bull.
It was another, Akitas, yeah.
Akita,
yeah. I hate to see any allowance of allowing something that's going to compound a problem. And to me, it's just not worth a young child being bit and scarred forever and risking human life.
Yeah, we do that with any other dog.
I agree with that.
And,
I mean, I've got paperwork here. There are some nice pit bulls. I'm not going to argue that. But the fact of the matter is if you go to dogbite.org, it shows pictures of, and this is just from 2018, of the people that have been attacked by and killed by vicious dogs, and a majority of them are pit bull. And you're more than welcome to see this. I mean, I do agree there are some nice pit bulls out there, but I've personally dealt with a lot of pit bull problems, and I care not to. So that's my position on it.
Thank you, Chief. What is how do we currently handle the termination of animals that violate the Vicious Animal Act?
Currently, we cite them, they're seized, and it goes to the court, and the judge actually decides the final determination. In
Give
general,
them 2 weeks to find a new home for it, is that right? Or 30 days, or?
we give them what the judge.
On a vicious animal.
Judge.
On a vicious animal, something ought to be done.
Well, I was going to say,
Yeah.
The ordinance states if the court deems that the animal to be a vicious animal, so if they get convicted of a vicious dog, then that dog should either be put down or removed from the city limits. And if it's found in the city limits in the future, it's to be euthanized on the spot.
Yeah.
Now, is there any way that and not just a pit bull, any breed of animal, I don't care whether it's a dog, a cat, a boa constrictor, any animal that violates that Vicious Animal Act, is there any way that it can be terminated on the spot? If there is direct evidence that it actually attacks somebody, when an officer shows up, is there any way it can be terminated on the spot?
No, I don't think our ordinance allows for that. I mean, if an officer arrives on scene and it's
In the middle
biting
of attacking
somebody, I would assume the officer's going to put the dog down.
I mean, you treat it just like if a person that was, somebody's life was in danger, right? Yeah.
Because it was coming at me.
Yeah.
And we have had a handful of other officers that have shot him.
State law by minimum says I must hold them 10 days if possible.
Gotcha.
So if I can get hands on them, I'm supposed to legally hold them.
Absolutely. Now, inside of that Vicious Animal Act, does it cover all breeds of animal?
Yep.
Yes,
Yeah.
including cats.
I personally would, I mean, to me, I wouldn't like us to see a deal that we were breed specific with the pit bull as far as an owner, other than to include the rules that might affect somebody raising them, because if somebody starts raising them, then there's a chance they're raising for a different reason, right? But I mean, if you had, so to me, I would prefer like the numbers. I mean, and of course it shouldn't be more than 3, and maybe the violations be higher for that particular, well, any of those really, but if somebody's raising more than 3 pit bulls, and they're probably doing that for the wrong reason then, but I don't think it's uncommon for somebody to have a couple. And to be honest with you, like I say, to me, any dog, I got a couple of dogs, new dogs that I didn't want, but I love them I love them anyway. My son brought one home last summer, and then one showed up in our yard, and I found out where it come from. We kept it, so I have 2 dogs, and they're like, one's barely one, one's less than one, and they're both 50, 55 pound dogs. And to watch them, and like I say, I love them, they'll jump up. But if one of them I didn't know and barked at me, I'd be just as scared of that dog as I'd be of any pit bull, because I can't believe the way those things can get around.
Yeah.
I mean, the one could jump over my head. It's an Australian Shepherd, and it just can move. And the Husky moves around pretty good, but the Australian Shepherd, it could get around me so fast. It's not even funny. But like I say, he's a lovable dog, but I don't know what would happen if somebody attacked somebody in my yard. But I have a fence and a pen, and then I let them run when I'm out there. And the pen's pretty big, but I think it's everybody's responsibility to control their animals, and I think that's the problem, not necessarily the animals, and they're not controlling them. And it's probably some of our faults. I've seen a few dogs run in the neighborhood, and I should probably call and have them picked up, but and I think that's probably, we create, I mean, when we let somebody get by with it, but we should hold our neighbors to those standards that they need to control their animals.
What's the legal accountability held on the individual that's the owner of any animal that would result in the fatality of another human being? Are they held on actual manslaughter charges?
It's a case by case. I mean, if you can show a degree of negligence and carelessness and intent,
or prior knowledge.
So
you're going to get sued civilly.
Yeah,
that's just the reality. Criminal, it's going to depend on if you have prior knowledge and the things that Dennis discussed.
I guess what I want to know, we have all these ordinances protected already. Why are we going through this all over again? I mean, we got a leash law, we got 3 dogs. I mean, vicious dog.
Well, I think when you're looking at something that's been banned for over 20 years, it doesn't hurt to take your time going through everything and making sure all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed, especially on something this controversial for this area that's had that much problematic issues in the past. You know, the main thing, like I said, I would like to see looked at if possible. I know you guys' resources and time are limited on being able to do that. But if we could look at including anything about regulation of breeding of all animal breeds. So I don't care if they're breeding snakes or if they're breeding dogs. That's probably something that is going to come back to haunt us in the future if we don't have a regulatory system already in place. And then I know Fourth Amendment is going to be some serious gray area with some of that kind of stuff, but we need to look at a way of being able to protect home and property owners from what their animals do in acts of self-defense, while also making sure that anybody that's going to be breeding animals is required to register those animals regardless of what they are and allow for regular inspections. That way we can keep there from being an issue with that.
That was kind of one of the reasons I left breeding now. That's one of 2 reasons. The first reason is, you know, people breed dogs. They'll have 6 or 8. They sell 3 or 4, and then all of a sudden they have 4 at home, plus they're male and female, and they know they can't get rid of them, so the front door goes open and out they go. And that's, so if there was a way of breeding them, you know, more stringent rules on the owners, which I think throughout, the owner needs to be way more responsible than they are.
Agreed.
You know, it's the...
Gary, you got any answers or questions or statements you want to make?
Well, I'd like to see just a change in the ordinance. I do agree with some parts of the ordinance. I definitely don't want it to be pit bulls are allowed and there's no strict regulations on them, because not everybody's going to be a responsible owner. You're always going to have those that get a dog and say, hey, he's a pit bull, he's got to be the meanest dog on the block. They've already got a bad rap as is. I do agree with, you know, a very strict ordinance that only the responsible people are going to be responsible enough that they're going to take the steps they need to take in order to have that dog. And to those that don't follow the guidelines, make an example out of them. I mean, there's no need to punish the breed just for being the breed. You know, there's situations where, you know, animal control shows up, they're doing their job, there's a pit bull present. There's no incident with the dog. The only problem is the breed of dog it is. You can't deem a dog vicious until it's committed a vicious act. You know, so I would like to see the ordinance changed, revised, to where they can be allowed, but there's definitely going to be some strong points in order to adequately keep the dog. And if you're not, if the person doesn't have registered dogs from a legit registry, I feel they should be spayed and neutered. And if you're going to breed dogs, you should be a licensed breeder. I mean, I breed American bullies myself, you know, and I've 20+ years experience with the terrier and the bull breeds. So I am one that's been all too familiar with this ordinance. And I'd like to see some things change, and I'd like to see, you know, the city make this an issue where it's not going to be a problem for, you know, people that are responsible to adequately own their dog and enjoy their dog. If there's an incident with the dog, I agree. It should be put down. You know, why blame the gun? Blame the gun owner. A gun won't do anything wrong unless it's in the wrong person's hands and they squeeze the trigger. So my concern would just be, I like a fair shake on everything, you know. I ask that the, you know, you commissioners and the mayor, you know, consider everything. I do understand, you know, throughout the world, there is a lot of pit bull attacks, but we can't look at what's going on in the whole world. This is the city of Liberal. And that's just that. I mean, pit bulls have been here since '89, since the ordinance was put into place. People just went in to hide them. And out of 30 years, we don't have incidences where there's no kids being mauled by pit bulls here in Liberal. And it's not because they're not here, because they are in fact here. They've always been here. They'll always be here. People will just go into hiding their dogs and keeping them in the house. And again, you know, the kid that was killed by the Akitas was a childhood friend of mine, Ishmael Gonzalez. There are no regulations on Akitas here in Liberal whatsoever, and that's completely unfair.
Okay, thank you for your input. I appreciate it.
If we table this.
Well, it doesn't need to be tabled because it's just a discussion.
We just need to do some more work on the ordinance.
I wanted to ask you a question. Have you read the ordinance, the 4521 then?
Yes.
Okay, because there is actually more, regulations for pit bulls, but it would allow pit bulls, but they would have more regulations than other dogs, some other dogs in, right? So
yeah, they'd be chipped and neutered, and then unless they're, well, neutered period until we get the breeding ordinance, and then licensed, which Sarah's working on, and then have insurance on.
When are we going to bring this back to the commission?
So,
whenever they have it prepared.
Yeah. So it would kind of hit in the middle of some. It would allow pit bulls and get rid of the pit bull ban, but they would still have more regulations for the people who are more concerned about pit bulls than they are other dogs.
So we could
so it
probably
kind of covers both.
Maybe the next meeting we could try.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not.
Last thing I'll bring up on this topic, you know, I completely agree that no breed of animal should be discriminated against because it all comes down to ownership and the way it's raised. And you could have a border collie be just as vicious as a pit bull if it had the crap beat out of it its entire life and was raised in a bad environment. That being said, if a pit bull or any bull terrier breed that was previously banned, that is not chipped, and we have no way to prove its ownership, does kill a human being or severely mauls somebody, and we cannot prove ownership, where does the liability fall? Where is that lawsuit going to end up?
That's my concern. agree with everything this gentleman said, but it's not the people that are obeying the laws that's causing any problems. It's the people that aren't obeying the laws. That's true of most
With everything, yeah.
Yeah, but
95% are for 5% of the population.
Exactly. But I mean, so if a random bull terrier breed is out there and mauls a kid, and that family decides that they get disgruntled enough that they want to sue, who are they suing, and what kind of case do they have against us?
They could try to sue the city on some kind of.
Is there any kind of
negligent
traction they would have?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, if we had a phone call, a log the day before to the police department about a dog that was
And we didn't
running
catch
around
it?
and we didn't take some effort to try to catch it, yeah, then we're gonna have some liability.
But as long as there's no negligence on our end, or we're fully following up on anything like that, then more than likely there's no liability for the city.
I wouldn't see any.
Thank
Okay.
you, everyone, for your input.
I think I'll move on here to number 11, the final plat for Anderson Addition.
This is the final plat to the Anderson addition. This is in the same area that we did the rezone the last meeting. This is for 4 houses to be built on. It does meet all the regulations for the city, all the comprehensive plan does fit in. It will fit into design of the neighborhoods around and now the zoning regulations for the rezone. City engineer and zoning administrator has reviewed this and find that there is nothing that will not fit in with the comprehensive plan or the regulations. It is our recommendation that the final plat be approved by the city commission.
Can I have a motion to approve the final plat?
I'll make a motion that we approve the final plat for the Anderson addition.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Harden, second by Commissioner Carlisle to approve the final plat for the Anderson Addition. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries 4-0. The next item is Land and Water Conservation Fund Grant. Karen Ukraine.
Good evening, Karen.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. This is a request to apply for a grant application, and it'll be a 50-50 grant for improvements to the National Beef Sports Complex, completion of the sidewalk, and ADA accessible playground. The amount that the city would need to, the 50% is the $246,000, which the land grant is the other part, and it's a Kansas, where's it through? Kansas Department of Wildlife, Parks and Tourism, but they are federal funds, so any funds that we would get would need to be for accessibility and things like that.
What happens if we don't get the grant?
Then we don't do the improvements. It's up to the commission how you want to go about that. That's always a chance when you apply for a grant, whether you get it or not, but the funds would only be necessary.
When do you think you would hear back?
The grant's due in April, and I believe by August is usually the 2 or 3 months.
So the improvements, if this item is approved and the grant is obtained and everything's moved forward, the improvements would actually be seen in 2020?
Yes, probably.
But we would be using $246,000 out of the 1 cent sales tax, correct?
Yes.
For the project.
What division of the 1 cent sales tax would that be coming out of? What division of the 1 cent sales tax would that be coming out of?
Cal had suggested economic development, but that's just what he suggested to me. He had requested that I apply.
Sports tourism.
Economic impact of our
If the city gets the grant and the money's not available through the 1 cent sales tax in 2020 for whatever reason, are we stuck building it and getting the grant?
You just lose the grant.
You don't get the grant.
I just didn't know if they formally awarded it to us if we say we've changed our mind, we don't want it because we don't have the funds.
Well, if you commit to the funds, that's what this is about. If you commit to the funds, you really need to have the funds. I mean, if they award the grant, you're expected to do the performance of the, that's what the resolution is.
Maddie, do you have any input on that? The money should be there. Money should be there, won't be there.
I mean, since we're still discussing the Eco-Devo joint committee, joint thing, I'm not sure what they have planned, what the money set aside for in Eco-Devo besides the joint committee.
My understanding is it's on the joint economic development. The city's supposed to put in $150,000 this year.
Correct.
The county's supposed to put in $150,000 this year.
Right.
Come January of next year, all the other entities like the college and USD 480 and all that supposed to put in their share. If I'm correct.
But the city and county's
The rest
like.
of the money, I'm not.
But in
I don't know
2020,
that
we
there's
would.
what plans are.
Yeah. In 2020, we would be putting in another 150,000, is what you're saying? That's for 2019, or that's for 2020?
Yeah, I mean.
150 is for the 2019.
Right, and this is
So
for a
then-
2020 grant,
And in
right?
2020, you pay to play.
And then
You paid.
then we're up for election of the sales tax.
Yeah.
So, I mean, realistically, what we'd actually be doing if we approve this tonight is come July when we sit down for budget, we're going to be setting aside the $246,616 to make sure that we have that in place in case the grant's approved.
Yes.
Oh, I heard
That was
Cal,
Cal.
so Cal, do we have the money, or?
He said correct, is what he said.
Is this all going to the ballpark?
That's where it is.
Yeah. At a certain point, we're going to have to rename.
Would be also part of the walk and bike trail that everybody's pushing to get, but we would actually have it in the sports complex.
The trail would go through the sports complex, is what you're saying? There'd be a playground, and then there would be trails through there?
Yes.
Is that gonna?
This would be an ADA playground. So it would be the only one in Liberal.
So it takes 493,000 to create that?
That's what the sidewalk also.
The engineer's estimate. Does that go through, I know that new drainage that we're tying to 8th Street or whatever is gonna have that Bermuda planted in it, so look, is that included in is that part of the National Beef Complex? Will that sidewalk tie to Mahurin Park or no?
We're still looking at that. Actually, we're looking at, we may have to do that in sections, but what we're looking at when we do that berm on the east side of Can Creek, actually be able to put that walking and bike trail on top of the berm and then tie it into that sidewalk that comes out of the main ball complex, and then actually go down to 8th Street and tie in down there.
So people that start at Mahurin Park or get to Mahurin Park on sidewalks can walk through there, and then also all the way down 15th Street would actually tie back to the college and really the light park. I mean, you could actually start clear in past Kansas and stay on sidewalk path that reach this path, if that took place, yeah.
Karen, when does this have to be applied for? What is our absolute latest deadline?
Today. Today for this resolution, for the resolution to have the mayor sign the documents. We're applying for it next week.
It's April 1st, you said.
Well, it's due by the 15th, and I'll be gone that week, so it's due the 8th. Or sooner.
So there's no way that we could wait one more meeting to make sure that we have all the necessary funding in place, take a look at 1 cent sales tax before moving on this, because we won't be available to submit it later?
Grant, you have the right to refuse it. You know, even though we apply for it and say we fall apart on our end, we actually can refuse to take the grant.
Yes, we can.
So yeah, if we decide to focus on the future or whatever, our efforts and for the new election for that, everything that we don't think that fits or we have more conversation about it. I mean, I think it's something that probably falls in, because it's really not a ball field improvement, it's a...
Correct. It falls into more like community development.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if we have the right to...
If we have the right to later refuse it, that changes everything.
Well, then if it's more community development, that would fall under the housing and community development, like a different fund.
I'll make a motion that we do the land and
Would
water
give us more
facility
flexibility.
fund grant.
What did you say? I'm sorry.
He made a motion.
Made a motion
To
approve
approve resolution number 2303, is that what you,
Doesn't say resolution, does it?
yeah?
Well, yeah, it does on Clause A.
Okay, resolution 2303.
Can all of it be approved under one?
Yes, I think that would be appropriate to approve it all, just to approve the mayor's signature on the documents attached.
We have a second, did someone second?
Second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Carlisle, second by Commissioner Warren to approve resolution number 2303. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries.
And I'll be opposed.
In favor, 1 against.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you, Karen. The next is Adventure Bay.
The only reason I approved that is
Matt.
because Will can come back and say I don't want it later.
Good evening. Good evening, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, and from afar, Mr. City Manager, how we doing? Okay, tonight I'm here, several things. It's pool season, so get your swimsuits out. We're looking to do some upgrades. Our first one that we're coming to you for is new audio system for Adventure Bay. These would be new speakers, a new mixer, 4 new speakers, I apologize, 1 new mixer, and the labor to install it. And this way, the speakers will now be, instead of blasting out so everybody in your restaurant can hear what's on the radio, it'll be more in tuned and
Directionalized.
yes, yeah, and you're good thing you're here. This way, we're not letting Walgreens know what's going on with the weather and so on and so on. So this is a better experience for the patron at the Bay.
I just wonder, because sometimes they can turn the TVs up high enough in the restaurant.
Exactly, and I apologize for that. I mean, so hopefully with this we'll be able to fix that problem.
Matt's actually aimed that one at you guys, so.
And I'm sure they're probably right.
So with that, I ask for, staff recommends that we hire Textile Audio and Security for the speakers, the mixer, and the labor for $4,214.99.
Are you going to want all of these sub-clauses approved individually? Okay.
Yes, please.
And
This
all-
is a budgeted item
All of
for
it, okay, that's my
2019.
next question. It's all in the budget
Yes,
with
sir.
planned expenses.
Yes,
I'll
sir.
make a motion that we approve the item A, the purchase of the F212T Series 12-inch two-way horn loudspeakers and 4 power mixers purchased from Textile.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Commissioner Warren, second by Commissioner Carlisle to purchase new F212T Series 12.5 two-way horn loudspeakers and a power mixer from Textile Auto and Security. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries.
And I'll abstain.
Okay, motion carries 3 with 1 abstention. 3 in favor, 1 abstention. Okay, your next item B.
Okay, next on B, it's time to upgrade. Our lounge chairs, the vinyl set, are starting to break. They're discolored brown and it's starting to look old and dated. So what we're doing the next 3 years, we're going to start phasing out our old lounge chairs into a newer, nice white base with the blue mesh. It'll look really nice. A lot of water parks around the country are going to this. It gives the water park a little bit more color to it. I think patrons will really like it. You're able to do the same thing. You can lay all the way out and sunbathe or sit up and watch your kids. So the next 3 years, we will be phasing out all lounge chairs, excuse me. And what we're looking to do is purchase 32 Clipto lounge chairs, at the cost of $5,120 plus the shipping, I apologize. So it'd be $5,685, and this is a budgeted item for 2019.
You say you're phasing out all of them, or the old ones you mean?
Phasing out all the old ones in the next 3 years.
And how long did they last?
They're going about 10 to 15 years.
Oh,
so we've reached capacity on our old ones. So.
Where are the chairs being purchased from?
They are being purchased from Larry Arlen.
I'll make a motion that we approve the purchase of 32 new Calippo lounge chairs for Adventure Bay Water Park in the amount of $5,685 from Larry Arlen. Is that what it is?
Yes, it's Arlen Water Parks out of Kansas City.
Out of Kansas City.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Commissioner Harden, second by Commissioner Carlisle to purchase 32 new Calippo lounge chairs for Adventure Bay Water Park in the amount of $5,685 from Larry Harlan. Is that the right name?
I think it was Arlen.
Arlen, yes.
Arlen, okay.
I apologize, that's not on there.
That's all right.
Is there any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries 4-0. The next item is repair and improve soft play water fixtures.
Okay, as you can see, the third one is our soft plays, and this would include our clams, the frog. You're also looking at the ship. So these things take a beating from the little ones. And on several spots, you can see those nice shoes, and my finger's pointing out little damaged areas. This soft plays.
Did we not have this painted last year?
We did not have the soft plays. No, sir. 3 years ago, we had the pools painted along with the slides. 6 years ago, Bomar out of Florida came in and they did touch up the ship in several locations.
Time flies when you're having fun.
I know. And about every 5 years, these things do need to be touched up. I think on the ship, on both sides of the slides, you see chips coming out. And due to safety, you don't want kids going down on their bellies or their backs, getting cut up. So the Fixture Park out of Houston would come up, and they're the ones that were originally working for the company that kind of folded on our water park, but they're the ones that built that ship. So these guys know about it. They're the ones that work on these things all the time. Staff is recommending that they come up and fix all the soft plays at the water park. And with that is the cost of $11,250. This was not a budgeted item. We try to extend it out as much as we can, and we're looking to do it in the next couple of years. But with all the pictures you can see, cracks and chipping and all that, staff feels that it would be necessary to get them in this year and fixed before season opens up.
And we've located money for that?
They would be paid for out of the pool project.
Okay.
With that, there's also another part to that, okay? I apologize for not getting that to you. On our lily pad floats, we'd also be looking to replace those. This is the same company, they make them. So when he comes up to fix the park, he'd just bring new lily pads. And what we're looking to do is, instead of lily pads, they'd be sea turtles. So it'd give it a better look, new, clean.
The sea turtles last longer than the lily pads?
The exact same, and they cost the exact same. So staff is asking that we replace all 6 lily pads at the cost of $9,150.
And that item was budgeted?
No, sir, these would be coming out of the pool project.
So we're looking at a grand total of $20,400 between the 2 expenditures for C&D?
Yes, sir.
And we have plenty in the pool project for that, the pool project fund?
We would have to fund the pool project.
What do you mean by fund that?
The pool project has previously been funded from Fund 260. Usually this is something we do at the end of the year when we take care of all the other funding projects, transferring money, that kind of stuff. These are usually classes that large expenditures at the pool, such as the slide improvements, repairs to the concrete, that stuff, and we've included this in the past.
Where does the money that goes into that fund generally come from? Is it general fund?
260,
Okay, so where does the money that goes into 260 come from?
that's sales tax.
Okay. No problem at all.
Sales tax.
I appreciate the explanation.
You want to make a motion?
So we're still treating those separate motions, C and B?
So it's same company, I'll just do one.
Let's do separate motions. One's a repair and one's a purchase.
Okay, I'll make a motion, we do the Fixture Park LLC repair for the amount of $11,250.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Carlisle, second by Commissioner Harden, to approve the Fixture Park LLC repair in the amount of $11,250. I think, do we have some discussion by the gentleman on the phone there?
Calvin, do you wish to say something?
Yeah, I think I heard Maddie clarify where the money was gonna come from. That's what I was trying to ask. And Matt talked to Chris to see where we were gonna get that money.
Thank you very much, Cal. Appreciate
We
it.
thought you dropped some of your supper or something.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Motion carries 4-0. The next item is the purchase then.
I'll make a motion that we approve the purchase of 6 new lily pads in the amount of $9,150.
I thought those turtles.
Turtles, lily pads, yeah.
Turtles.
Sea turtles.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Harden, second by Commissioner Carlisle to purchase 6 new lily pads, sea turtles, whatever, in the amount of $9,150. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Matt.
The next item is Mid-America Air Museum.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hello, Bob.
Madam Mayor, Commissioners, it's nice to be before you again. Tonight I wanted to talk about the condensation issue we're having in the hangar of the Mid-America Air Museum. Ever since last fall, when it started cooling down enough at night that frost was forming, it was also forming on the inside of the ceiling of our hangar building. And then as it warms up, it starts dripping in fairly large quantities, and it drips all over the floor, but more importantly, it drips all over the aircraft as well. So we've had a number of people look at it and try to determine what the problem is, and the general consensus seems to be that we need to add additional insulation or repair the insulation on the inside of the ceiling, particularly down the center of where the coffin vent was, where it was a manufacturing plant. So Calvin and Albert had gone out and obtained an estimate from Webcon Green Roofing Systems and also from Mesa. And then we also requested an estimate from Jerry White's Roofing. They did come out and look at it, but we've never received an estimate from them. So after reviewing both of the estimates that were received, I am recommending that we go with Mesa Roofing in the amount of $10,975. That is a 2-part process. Part 1 would be they would install the insulation board across the ventilation system. If our scissor lift for some reason was inadequate to reach the area, then they have included in their estimate an additional $1,225 for the rental of a scissor lift for 1 week. I personally do not think they will need that, since our scissor lift was high enough to get the electrician up to replace all of the lighting. If that does not completely solve the problem, then we would move on to phase 2 and add some vents into the roof to help with the issue.
Is this money coming out of the donated money?
This would come out of the anonymous donation we received last November.
Can we have a motion to approve the installation and the ceiling of the Air Museum by Mesa Roofing?
I'll make a motion that we approve for the installation of the insulation in the Air Museum from Mesa Roofing in the amount of $10,975.
Second.
And motion by Commissioner Harden, second by Commissioner Carlisle to approve the installation of the ceiling of Air Museum by Mesa Roofing in the amount of $10,975.
So now is my understanding that that includes the vents that are determined whether we need them?
If they're determined we need them, that would include the vents.
So up to that amount, so it's possible we may only pay the $83.50 then if it solves the problem?
More likely, it would be the $7,125.
Oh, if the lift works, so up to that amount?
Yeah, I guess I'll amend the motion to say not to exceed the amount of $10,975.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Look forward to seeing you at the next meeting.
Absolutely.
The next item, I think Maddie is going to present to us the city credit card payment processing.
Mayor, Commissioners, before you we have two separate credit card payment processing companies. The first is Paymentus. We have been looking into this company because they integrate with our system. In October of last year, we approved the Click2Gov website, I guess, integration, and then Paymentus will work with them, so everything will be able to have online payments, and they will also provide credit card processors at the desks. So you'll be able to use credit cards when you go into City Hall also to pay your bill. And the agreement with Paymentus, it is at no cost to the city. The fees will be charged to the users. So every time they swipe, depending on utility billing or accounts receivable, the money will come to the city and the fee will go to Paymentus. We do not touch the fees on this one.
How about paying on a website?
Yes, the Click2Gov, it integrates with the Paymentus to provide online payments.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And we are looking at it like implementation in third quarter.
Awesome. One thing to think about for all the citizens that came to the meeting tonight and that watched this, whether that fee is being charged to you or the city, it's being charged to us anyway because we are the city. So it's actually better that it's going to be on that end and not on the city's end because the city would probably incur much higher penalties and rates than what a general citizen does.
But you're saying like if I pay a $100 bill online, this payment deal, they're gonna charge me $103.50, right? Just like if you...
For utility billing, if you pay, so your water bill, if you pay it online for $100 or $200, it'll be at $285. It's a flat fee up until up to $400. So if your water bill's $800, you'll have to have two separate transactions. But you will be able to make multiple.
So if my water bill gets $800, you can bill Ronnie for half of it?
Yeah.
And then for accounts receivable, it is at 3.5%.
Okay.
I think that's a good deal.
Yeah, it actually looks substantially better than the second option from in-court as far as the fees and penalty. Now the in-court, so we're going to have two separate...
Yes.
I was going to say, so we're going to have two totally separate payment processors?
We need to vote on the payment.
I can explain in court and then we can go back and prove whichever.
No,
that's fine.
Let's do this one so we don't get confused, Maddie. We seem to get confused.
I'll make a motion to approve for us to move forward with the online payment processing from Paymentus for utility billing and accounts receivable.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Harden, second by Commissioner Warren to approve. Now, what did you say?
To approve us to move forward with the online payment processing system from Paymentus.
Online payment with Paymentus for billing, utility billing and accounts receivable, credit card payment processing. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, motion carries. 4-0. Now then, Maddie, the next item.
All right. In-Court is an online payment processing company that will integrate with our court system. So this will be people who get tickets in town. They live out of town. It's a hassle to either mail in your fee, especially if they don't write it on the ticket. that kind of thing. So now they will be able to enter like fields to be able to go in and pay their tickets online. This will be also new credit card readers for multiple locations. Ones that have previously had a card reader in some new locations, so municipal court, police records, animal shelter, building inspection, Willow Tree Golf Course, Convention and Tourism, and Mid-America Air Museum will all be receiving these card readers to pay on location. Those that everybody but municipal court will not have online payments. It'll like this is just integrating with the municipal court system. This is no cost to the city. They're throwing the credit card machines in for free.
Is that why there's such a variation between the fee structure, is because it's for
Yes.
the court system?
Yes. And then for the fees at our retail locations, so golf course, convention and tourism, and the air museum, the city will continue paying the fees at 3.5%. So somebody will purchase an item for $100, all they're charged is $100, and then once a month, the city will pay the fees on the usage of the cards for those locations.
Like a regular retailer then?
Yes. Yep. And then at the other locations, it'll be, they adopt a dog for $88. They'll swipe their card, we will receive the $88, and in court will receive the 3.5% of that. And at municipal court, there are multiple ways to pay. So you'll have the online payments. You'll be able to call over the phone. So there's a designated number just for like our city to call for their representatives. There's like their people, and then there's an automated system to talk to. And then once again, at their window, they'll be able to slide their card.
I'll make a motion to approve that we move forward with the integration of the in-court payment processing system for municipal court, police records, animal shelter, building inspection, Willow Tree Golf Course, Convention and Tourism, and Mid-America Air Museum.
Second.
We have a motion to go forward with the online payment within court for the municipal court, police records, animal shelter, police building inspection, golf course, convention and tourism, and air museum, credit card payment processing. Let's see, Commissioner Harden made the motion, Commissioner Carlisle second. Is there any discussion?
I forgot to mention, we are hoping for implementation of this in May.
Oh, fantastic.
Also, how about the rec department?
They have their own. They already accept online payments.
Okay. I'm good.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Motion carries. 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maddie.
Let's see. Number 16 item, Liberal Housing Authority Board appointment. Hello, Barbara.
Good evening.
Hi, Mayor, Commissioners. We recently had the resident board member resign from the board because they had fulfilled their term. So we had, at the tenants meetings, they decided who they would feel comfortable with representing them on our board. And that person met with our board last board meeting and decided that, yes, she would like to become a member of the board. So I would ask that the commission approve Catherine Owens to be our resident board member and ask the mayor to appoint her to the board of the Liberal Housing Authority.
I'll make a motion that we approve the board appointment of Catherine Owens to the Liberal Housing Authority Board.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Harden, second by Commissioner Carlisle, that we appoint Catherine Owens as a resident board member for the Liberal Housing Authority. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries. So Catherine Owens is appointed then.
Thank you. I would also like to inform the commission that I am actually retiring. And my last day as the executive director will be Friday. Ty Lewick is here with me, and he will become the new executive director as of Monday, April 1st.
Fantastic.
Congratulations.
Enjoy retirement, Barbara.
Thank you.
Thank you for all your help over the years. The next item is 17, request for roadblock at 810 Stadium Road.
Make a motion, we approve the county and the city to close the 810 Stadium Road for National Bee Picnic from 12 to 5 on May the 12th.
I'll second.
I have a motion to approve the request to block 810 Stadium Road on May 12th from 12 to 5 p.m. for National Beef Annual Picnic. Any discussion?
Chief, you see any issues with this from the PD side?
No, I don't.
Fantastic.
As long as they give you free food, right?
All in favor? Motion carries. Zero.
It's time to talk to folks.
The next item is the city manager's report. Is he online?
Still awake?
You awake, Cal?
Yep, I'm still here. First, I want to apologize because first time I ever live streamed this, the audio and the video are not synced. That's why I was trying to comment at times but I want to thank all the staff. The other thing what I was trying to say is Matt Quint, both have advised you on the pool that one filters has got a hole blown in the pipe, so we will have that welded. That's going to probably be about a $1,200 cost. If Matt's still there, he should have the numbers. But so on the lap pool, we have to replace the pump on it. We babied it through last year and put an undersized impeller just to finish the season. And so we are going to have to replace that entire pump so we can have the water turnover that we need. Other than that, I appreciate being able to watch the meeting, and I'm going to try and get out of here in a minute, see if I'm too late to eat dinner.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay, thank you, Cal.
Thank you, Cal.
Do you have anything to add? Okay. I just want to remind commissioners that this coming Thursday at 7 a.m. is the Seward County Council of Governments at Seward County Community College. And I want to thank all the staff who worked so hard on these ordinance, and thank you, Lynn, for getting everything ready for this meeting. We had quite a few.
Kevin, thank Kevin.
Kevin and his group. And I appreciate the audience attending. And if you haven't had anything to eat, Freddy's is sponsoring a fundraiser for Cottonwood School, and that goes until 9 p.m. So if you want to leave here and stop by Freddy's, that would help Cottonwood School. That's all.
This was one of my favorite meetings as a commissioner because of how much discussion there was. I love getting to see all the dialogue. I know we had some fairly controversial topics on the agenda. Appreciate all the patience from the audience and the patience from the city and staff and the commissioners to be able to go through all that. I know we typically don't like to be here till midnight. However, that being said, I greatly appreciate all of the diligence, time, and hard work that went into these ordinances. I thought they were very well crafted. I know that multiple departments went into doing that. So thank you guys very much for doing those. Same thing with the even the ones we deferred, like the pit bull one, that work will not be wasted. We'll definitely have a determination on that later in time. One thing I wanted to bring up to Lynn and Calvin, I wanted to inquire, since we now know that Walmart Marketplace will be closing soon, were they given any property tax abatements or any abatements of any kind that can be revoked?
I don't have any knowledge on that. Maddie's shaking her head no.
Okay, we didn't. So we have no way of being able to penalize them for the move that they did into the community?
They've been paying property taxes since they purchased it, so.
Okay.
There hasn't been.
Fantastic. Well, I appreciate everybody that came to the meeting and all the commissioners' patience throughout. Keep coming to the meeting and stay involved.
I want to also agree with Taylor. Oh man, that's hard.
Did that just happen?
Staff did a good job putting these ordinances together. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
Gary, I'd appreciate if you'd reach out to Kevin. Okay, on the pit bull. give him your thoughts on, maybe he's tightening up the regulations. You understand?
Yes, sir.
Because I do think that you have a good idea of, people are not responsible, and, you need to figure out a way to do it, and what better than a man that owns it. So, if you please reach out. Chief, thank you.
Thank you.
Kelly, sorry you didn't get your way, but, hey. You do a good job. You really do. And I appreciate everything y'all do, including you, Lynn, to keep us out of trouble.
Thank you, sir.
Your turn.
My turn? Oh. Well, I guess I need to just jump on that bandwagon and appreciate all the hard work, staff, Lynn, for working on this stuff. And we can only hope we get it right, and we can only go so far because we need the public to be responsible, because like, it was said tonight that, only if people will follow the rules can, we can make this work, because there will be people unhappy of the decisions we made. But that's the thing, is if we give the public the freedom to do the things they want to do that should be legal, they need to be responsible, or they're going to put us in the position that we have to say no. And we're trying to work with the public, so that means that also it's the responsibility of the public, when your neighbor's not doing it right, to help. I mean, I just feel like, you feel like you're tattling on somebody, but if your neighbor's shooting off fireworks, then call and let them know where they're at so they don't have to hunt them down to find them. I mean, if it's bothering your dogs, then we're happy that you've called and let us know whether they're firing off stuff that's not legal and that type of thing. And if people have information on the food vendors and stuff like that they need to share with us, then we need to hear that. If we can process the reasonable information, or we can try and try to make what rules are best for everybody. But I appreciate, like I say, staff's hard work, and I really truly hope that we don't cause any hardship on our staff, police department and fire department. And like I say, if everybody's responsible, I think we can limit that. And I guess since Cal kept asking me if I was going to have the fence done on the fence project, I don't know if anybody's, everybody's had a chance to drive out by there, but there was a fence up last Thursday before last Thursday for the high school to have their baseball game out there, and we've got several signs hanging on it. And I think everybody that's commented to me said it's turned out pretty good. So I'd like everybody, if they get a chance, to go out and look at it. And I do have a few places available still. We're going to go to 50 or 52 signs to help pay for the project. So if anybody wants to advertise on there, you can still contact me. I think you already got everything you already had from me. I got everything I need from Jack almost. But we appreciate too the baseball, on behalf of the Baseball Association. We appreciate everything the city does for us, and I know Brad's not here tonight, but Matt is, and they've helped us with several things and helped us with state tournaments, and we're hoping that we can give back to the community when we hold those tournaments and get people here in town. So that's it for me.
Okay, thank you. The next item is to approve the vouchers.
I'll make a motion that we approve the vouchers in the amount of $655,934.70.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hart, and second by Commissioner Warren, to approve the vouchers in the amount of $655,934.70. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries 4-0. We are now adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Have a great